The world is constantly changing, and we must change with it. To do that, we must learn. All individuals can learn. All organizations are comprised of individuals, yet not all organizations learn. In order for an organization to learn, individuals must share their knowledge and their mental models so that the shared knowledge becomes part of the organization and the organization's memory. The way organizations do this is by creating a learning organization. The dictionary definition of learning is the acquiring of knowledge or skill. According to Dr. Daniel Kim of MIT, that means the acquisition of a skill or know-how and the acquisition of know-why, the ability to articulate a conceptual understanding of an experience. A number of theorists, such as Schoen, Argyris, and Kolb, see a connection between thinking and doing. Dr. Kim uses an example of a carpenter to illustrate the differences between the two kinds of learning. For example, you might have a carpenter who is an excellent woodworker but doesn't understand how to build a coherent structure like a house or a table. He has the know-how, but not the know-why. Likewise, you can have a carpenter who knows everything about design and architecture, but can't hammer two pieces of wood together. He has the know-why, but not the know-how. Experiential learning theory is the learning theory that best accommodates both of these aspects of learning. Kaufman's OADI model is a good illustration of how a person learns. First, you have a concrete experience and make observations about that experience. Second, you reflect on your observations and either consciously or subconsciously assess your experience. Third, you form abstract concepts and generalizations based on your reflections and design an appropriate action. Finally, you test the design by implementing it in a new situation, and you have another concrete experience. Donald Schoen and Chris Argyris of MIT collaborated on learning systems. When something goes wrong, most people look for another strategy that will work within the existing structure. This is called single-loop learning. A different response when something goes wrong is to question the structure itself, to examine procedures, models, etc., to see if something within the routine or the framework needs to change. This is called double-loop learning. Individual learning leads to individual mental models. An organization consists of shared individual mental models. That is, the mental models in each individual's head are where most of an organization's knowledge, both the know-how and the know-why, exist. It is only through sharing their mental models that an organization can learn and grow. This model looks very complicated, but what Dr. Kim has done is taken the OADI model we looked at for how an individual learns and added both single-loop learning and double-loop learning to the process. That is all up here. An individual acts, the environment responds in some way, the individual goes through the learning cycle and possibly changes how he or she will act the next time. That is individual single-loop learning. There may be times where the individual questions the underlying routines and frameworks and changes how he or she responds. This is individual double-loop learning. You'll notice these stacked individual learning models. This represents all the individuals in the organization, each with his or her own learning models and his or her own mental models. Organizations can also engage in single-loop learning when an individual acts according to the organization's shared mental models or the standard operating procedures that have been set up. An individual can also question these procedures and possibly change them, thereby engaging in double-loop learning. In order for organizational learning to occur, organizations must set up mechanisms for individuals to share their mental models. This is what a learning organization does. Peter Senge has written numerous books on his vision of a learning organization and the 5 disciplines that he sees as central to learning organization. We'll briefly describe Senge's 5 disciplines. In personal mastery, you envision what you most want to achieve and then look at the reality. There's always tension between your vision and reality, and we need to learn to cultivate that tension. We must all be lifelong learners so that we never stop learning, never stop questioning. The key to shared vision is dialogue. Only when individuals within the organizations have open, honest discussions about their mental models can the organization truly begin to learn. We've discussed mental models to some degree already, but essentially we need to use reflection to turn the mirror inward, so to speak, to understand exactly what we are thinking and how we arrived at our decisions. Once we can articulate this, we begin the process of team learning, which leads to organizational learning. We need to have an understanding of the organization's system as a whole. We tend to focus on just the parts. Dialogue and reflection are key components to understanding the system of the organization. All 5 of these disciplines form the core of a learning organization. An employee's emotional intelligence helps him or her to, quote, get into a productive process of acquiring, retaining, and using new inputs for continuous learning and renewal of the organization, end quote, from Singh, 2007, page 66. Individuals with above average emotional intelligence have more productive results when in an organizational learning situation. Mechanisms of organizational learning can be realized more often when the employees become more intelligent emotionally. Therefore, learning outcomes become more beneficial not only for them but for others as well. The role of emotion in organizations is widely ignored, both the conscious and unconscious levels. The management of learning involves anxiety. Resistance can result from that particular anxiety. Anxiety is a very important part in a manager's understanding of learning in terms of how learning occurs and how it is perceived. From Singh, page 61. Emotionally competent employees possess a well-developed ability to manage any kind of non-productive emotions that they and others experience when interacting with others on any problem associated with formulation of tasks or decision-making. The aim of learning as an organization is to promote innovation and flexibility through individual responses and decision choices at levels that the organization can respond to proactively. Each individual's emotional intelligence prompts a desired outcome that benefits others as well as themselves. The process of organizational learning depends largely on the level of emotional intelligence of the employees in the organization, thus helping integration of new inputs with existing practices within the organization. Retention and integration of ideas and practices is higher in employees who accept the role of emotional intelligence in their learning process. To become a learning organization, group leadership must remain open to input, to new ideas and new ways of doing things. They cannot allow themselves to become static, relying on the current model of operations. Fortunately, technology offers many ways to encourage transparency and communication, as well as learning at all levels. This provides an excellent opportunity for any entity to become or to continue to grow as a learning organization. In small companies with less bureaucracy between the employees and management, communication tends to be more direct. However, in large institutions, there can be many layers between the average employee and the boss. These layers can often act as a filter, not only keeping helpful ideas from moving up to the decision makers, but it can also keep the leader's vision for the organization from reaching the individual members of the group. Technology can go a long way to promote the transparency and communication necessary to become a learning organization. Modern Internet technology, referred to as Web 2.0 in London and Hall, 2011, can open up the lines of communication with social media sites, weblogs, blogs, and chat rooms, allowing employees to express their opinions and discuss the issues. Other applications like video conferencing and document sharing can improve transparency by allowing everyone to participate in official group communication. Leaders can use the technology to announce changes or even to solicit input from the field and discuss current issues. This, however, is just the first step. Once communication has opened up, then the learning must begin. A learning organization not only learns and grows as an entity, it also provides opportunities, encouraging its members to learn and grow. Web 2.0 technologies offer the means to achieve this kind of learning. There are technologies like search engines that enable individuals to conduct research around the world, or information sharing technology that allows teams to collaborate and provide each other feedback, regardless of where they are located. As individuals learn and grow, the organization learns and grows. But perhaps the greatest benefit lies in how technology can promote learning at the organizational level. One of the biggest roadblocks to becoming a learning organization may be fear. Change involves risks, and some people are not willing to risk failure in spite of the potential for improvement. This is a situation where technology's value shines through. Through simulations or microworlds, Zeng, 1990, technology can provide increasingly realistic and complex scenarios for organizations to experiment and learn about possible outcomes from their decisions. Leaders, managers, and teams can be taught to make decisions and take risks in an environment where they can learn the consequences of their choices without subjecting the organization to any actual danger. Technology can help an organization to learn and can even help the organization learn how to learn. It can also teach the members of that organization how to take risks and make necessary changes. Technology can help them to realize that they do not have to settle for the status quo. Computer technology can be a powerful tool towards encouraging organizational learning, and there are countless guides and articles on how becoming a learning organization can increase company success and profits. But what about another very important dynamic organization, the one that is responsible for creating the next generation of lifelong learners who will join and lead the learning organizations of the future? Are they practicing what they preach? Vivian Collinson was determined to find out. Using qualitative research methods, she examined a wealthy school district to see if they displayed the characteristics of organizational learning. In Collinson's view, there are 6 characteristics that are important in the facilitation of learning organizations: prioritizing learning for all members, fostering inquiry, facilitating dissemination of learning, practicing democratic principles, attending to human relationships, and providing for members' self-fulfillment. She found that the school system did not demonstrate one of these 6 conditions. Actually, the school leaders were obsessed with maintaining the status quo and displayed conditions opposite of a learning organization. They displayed narrow ideas of learning, discouraged inquiry and feedback, created a culture of distrust, and consistently reacted to problems as opposed to solving problems innovatively. Collinson warns that schools who are not encouraging organizational learning will struggle with educational challenges that will emerge in the future. We find ourselves in a fast-paced, consistently changing world. Emerging technologies, new economic realities that transcend political and cultural borders, and information flowing at the speed of light are just a few of the challenges modern organizations must face. Time and time again, research demonstrates that learning organizations are more flexible and better equipped to quickly adapt to our fast-paced world. Not just adapt, but innovate successfully, creating our next new reality.